Hello. Today we'll be talking about the visions for change with Jared Young today on the Bernie Hayes Show. Welcome back. I'm Bernie Hayes. My guest is Jared Young, a candidate for the U.S. Senate. Jared, welcome.
Thank you. It's a privilege
Mr.
to be
Young,
here.
tell us about why do you want to run for Senate? What's happening here?
I, like so many of us, I am exhausted. I'm tired. I'm tired of politicians that are telling us that you and I need to be enemies, or that anytime we disagree, that means we need to be angry and hate each other. I feel like we're all on the same team. We just have different ideas sometimes of how to achieve the goals that we share. Sure. And we are in desperate need of leaders who have that attitude, who are able to disagree productively and actually speak with and engage with each other in a way that we can solve the complex problems that we're facing.
So you're not running for state Senate, you're running for U.S. Senate.
I'm running for the U.S. Senate. That's
so
correct.
You're going to the right to the top.
That's right.
What's your mission? What's your plan, more or less, and your goal?
Well, so like I say, I feel like at a national level especially, we need leadership that's able to face these complex problems that we're dealing with, whether that's our economy struggling, groceries costing too much, whether it's education, whether it's immigration challenges. Sure. These are all issues that are dealt with at a national level. And I feel like in the U.S. Senate, each individual has quite a bit of power. So if I'm going to run for an office and I really want to be an agent for change, and I'm going to run as an independent because that's important to me, I feel like the parties are the biggest part of the problem. And as an independent in other areas in our government, whether that's the U.S. House or whether that's the state legislature, it'd be really difficult for an independent to make a huge difference. But an independent in the U.S. Senate would be able to be in a position to actually force the parties to come to the table and have real discussions on some of these issues that our country is struggling with.
As an independent, are you garnering support?
Yes, that's an interesting question. So independents always face a lot of huge challenges.
Yeah.
One of the challenges is convincing voters. Voters have been trained all their lives that this is a two-party system.
Sure.
And you're throwing away your vote if you vote for anybody else. And so you need to get the voters to come on board. The donors, donors aren't used to contributing to independence, and so getting the donors on board is always a challenge. And then third is getting the media on board. The media is also used to this two-party narrative and has trouble taking independent candidates seriously. But what we're discovering this time around is the voters are ready for this. Okay. The voters are so tired and discouraged and just frustrated. The presidential ticket right now has people really frustrated, and people are just completely dissatisfied with what the two parties are producing. So the voters are ready for this, and we discover that over and over again as we've been traveling the state. People are incredibly receptive to this message, this rejection of the hyperpartisanship and the anger that we're so tired of and exhausted by, and just this rejection of what the two parties are producing. The donors, we're still looking to get on board. Sure. There's some that are pretty enthusiastic, but a lot that are sitting back and waiting, wanting to make sure that this has some momentum and is a really serious thing before they start putting their resources forward. But we've made a lot of progress on that front as well, and I have my own resources that I'm putting in the campaign as well that are covering us just fine for now. And then, the media, we're working on the media. You have me here, so I guess we're doing a little bit right now.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, before we get too far into our conversation, how can they reach you and how can they donate to your campaign if they wanted to?
Yeah, so votejaredyoung.com is the best way to find out more information about us and the easiest way to donate. You can also reach us at info@votejaredyoung.com, and also on our social media, @votejaredyoung is our social media handle on Facebook, Twitter, X, and Instagram. And so those are the best ways to reach us, and we're generally pretty responsive if you reach out to the campaign.
Great. I have one of your brochures, your flyers. It says Young for Senate. We can do better. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. What does that mean?
We love to complain about Congress and about how bad a job they're doing. I think my entire life people have been complaining about Congress, and that seems to be reaching kind of a fever pitch now. But if we want things to change about how the way that Congress works, we need to be willing to try something significantly different. In my mind, whether you send a Republican to Congress or a Democrat to Congress, the results are largely going to be the same in terms of the dysfunction and not really getting anything done. And so I feel like if we want to see radical change in Congress, we need to try something radically different, like send an independent to the U.S. Senate. And if we're not willing to take that chance and have the courage to take that risk, then we can't expect anything significant to happen.
Let's present your credentials. Tell us about Jared Young.
Yeah, so I grew up all over the country, settled in Missouri about 10 years ago with my family. I guess the most important credential, the thing that's most important in my life, is I'm a father. I've been married for we're coming up on 16 years here next month, and I have 6 children. So that's the biggest, most important thing in my life is my wife and my children. I am a lawyer by training. Went, back up just a step. In my undergrad, I studied Middle East Studies in Arabic at Brigham Young University. Spent a couple of years living in Europe during my early 20s, and then some time living in the Middle East as well, in Jordan. And like I said, my undergrad's in Arabic. I then went to law school at Harvard, so we spent 3 years in Boston. Spent a year after law school working as an attorney in D.C. before switching to the business side of things and joining a business here in Missouri, and have been running that business for the last 9 or 10 years. We had a chance to sell the business in 2022, and so that opened up some options for me, and stepped away from that full-time job about 9 months ago to focus full-time on this campaign. So I feel like, between my foreign experience, my legal experience, my business experience, and then I've served in a number of leadership positions in my church that have allowed me to work on quite a few social welfare roles. I feel like that combination of skills and experiences has really given me a broad view of not only what's going on in our country, but what's going on around the world.
Especially in the Middle East.
Yes,
Yeah.
And given me just some skills and knowledge that I think will be incredibly useful as I work as a representative for the people of Missouri.
Well, you were accompanied by a gentleman here. I think it was your dad.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about him.
My dad is one of my heroes. Also comes from a business background. I think when I decided to leave the legal field to join business, he was silently cheering in the background. But one of the things I love about my dad is there's never been pressure in my life to accomplish anything specific. I think my dad loves baseball. He had dreams that one of his boys, he has 4 boys, 4 boys and a girl, and that one of us would go on to become a baseball star. In fact, he bought a batting cage for us when we were kids. We had a pitching machine in the backyard, and he wanted us to play baseball, and none of us did. In fact, we all dropped it before we even reached high school. But there was never any pressure from my dad to do what he wanted us to do. He just wanted us to be happy. He wanted us to be good people, and the most important thing he always taught us is that we needed to be kind.
Well, being an attorney, I think perhaps fulfilled one of his dreams, do you think?
I don't know. I don't think so. We don't have a lot of lawyers in the family, and so I think he was a little, certainly was proud that I guess that his son was going to Harvard, but he wasn't super excited about the Harvard law part.
Sure, okay. Jared, there's so much I'll talk to you about. We're going to take a short break here. It says, Jared is a leader that brings integrity and virtue in both his public and private life. That's what I was asking about there. It's based on experience in business, nonprofits, international relations, and government. So that's what I want to talk about when we come back, okay?
Sounds great.
In the meantime, we're the New Life Evangelistic Center with 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. And Reverend Larry Rice has been providing services for those in need for more than 52 years. We need your tax-deductible support as much as we can. Back with Jared Young after this.
As we feel the darkness pressing in upon us, both personal needs and needs in the world, society as a whole, it's easy for us to get depressed. And when we're depressed and negative and feeling hopeless, we're not going to be able to help anyone. That's why I daily have to draw strength from the Word of God. That's why I have to go on walks in the midst of the wonders of God's works. And that's why I have to be able to see something that's worked for many, many years in my life, is that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That He's with us always, even to the end of the world. And that we can be a light, letting His love and power flow in us and through us in a cold, dark world. There are people hurting out there. There's people that are crying out to God at this particular moment in the midst of their desperation. Can we be led by the Holy Spirit to them? Can we believe God to reach out and let His love flow through us and by faith help them meet their needs? That's the challenges that the Lord gives us in His Word. Experience the joy of really helping somebody else and letting the light and love of Christ shine in you and through you.
True faith will manifest itself in how we live and how we help others. True love will manifest itself also in how we live and how we help others. So I challenge you to get out and help the poor and the needy. New Life Evangelistic Center has many opportunities. You could become involved directly in our street outreach. You could become involved in making the sandwiches and bringing other forms of help, water and so forth, to help us as we reach out and help the people on the streets. You can be involved in other ways through our ministry. And you can challenge your church to become involved. It's always so beautiful to see how church congregations can be involved in helping. Maybe they can do a cleanup project at one of the abandoned buildings or something like that, where they can become directly involved and also interact with the people. That's another thing I learned when I first came to New Life Evangelistic Center, that ministry is a two-way street. As we minister to people, recognize their needs, help them, pray with them, we find that we ourselves are ministered to. We are blessed. So I challenge you to become involved daily, reaching out with the love of Jesus Christ to those who are in need.
Welcome back. My guest is the candidate for U.S. Senate in Missouri, Jared Young. And Mr. Young, we were talking about your background and your credentials, and it says here, Jared is a leader that brings broad experience in business, nonprofits, international relations, and government. You touched upon it a little bit, but expound on that.
Yeah, so I talked about the business. The business that I ran was, we did HR outsourcing for businesses throughout the Midwest. So we did their payroll and their benefits, and what that means is that I have a really up-close perspective of how government regulation impacts businesses, because basically what we did was help them deal with those government regulations and be compliant. And you know, when the government decides to do something, there's usually good intentions and a good reason behind it, and sometimes it works the way they intend it, and sometimes it doesn't work the way they intend it, and we just need to be conscious as regulators, as legislators, that everything we do is going to have unintended consequences, and we just need to make sure that we thoroughly think through what we're trying to accomplish, and I believe we should use the most limited means possible to accomplish our goals. So that's my business experience. On the nonprofit front, I served on the board of the Boys and Girls Club in Joplin, where I live, for a number of years, and love that organization, love what they do to help at-risk youth, and really teach them. The thing I love about the Boys and Girls Club is the values that they're trying to instill in the kids. You know, they're not just there to babysit them. They're trying to teach them skills and values that are going to lead them to a successful life. And I really love what they do and the difference they're making in people's lives.
With your business background and your law degree, why did you choose public service?
That's a good question. This is going to sound trite, and I think politicians say this all the time, but I love our country. I know we have our warts and we have our scars, but I think especially living abroad, especially in the Middle East and places that don't enjoy the same kind of freedoms and successes we've had here in America, has given me a deep appreciation for what we have here. And I feel like what we have is in danger. And again, I know there's a lot of alarmism, a lot of people saying that right now. I don't mean it in the same way that I think a lot of people. I don't feel like, you know, if Donald Trump gets elected, our country's over, or if Joe Biden gets elected, our country's over. I don't mean our country's in danger in the sense that there's some individual figure that's going to bring down the country if we elect them. I mean, as I was talking about earlier, I think this inability of us to talk to each other anymore, whether that's at the politician level or just at the everyday neighbor level.
Sure.
I think that's a danger for our country. I think in order for our democracy to continue to thrive and be able to evolve and improve, we have to be able to talk to each other. We have to be able to see things from different perspectives and really be willing to try to understand other people's points of views. And we're losing that ability. And I think there's a number of factors that are leading to that, whether it's social media or cable news or whatever you want to blame it on. But I think we're in desperate need of leaders who can model, here's how to productively engage, and here's how we need to be talking to each other and respecting each other. And if we don't have that, and if we don't change something soon, we're going to lose what makes America so special.
Okay, now how can one, again, reach you and donate to your campaign if they wanted to?
Again, votejaredyoung.com is the campaign website. That's the best way to donate and find out more information. You can also see us on our various social media handles. That's @VoteJaredYoung.
Okay. And what is the election?
November 5th.
November 5th. So this is no primary, just the regular
No
general
primary
election, right?
for me. Yeah, we as an independent, the way I get on the ballot is through gathering signatures. So I need 10,000 signatures statewide to get on the ballot. We have those signatures, and we'll be actually turning them into the Secretary of State here in the next couple of weeks.
So you will be on the ballot.
I will definitely be on the ballot. Assuming something crazy doesn't happen with signatures, but we're confident we'll be on the ballot here soon.
As you're visiting people around the state, what do you say to them? Why should they elect Jared Young?
Well, it's a lot of the same things we've been talking about with you. Look, we're all frustrated, we're all exhausted, and so if we want something to change, we need to try something different. And I am something different, and I'm just someone who my entire adult life, I have been helping people who disagree with each other work together productively. Sure. And that's what I'll bring to the Senate.
It says the ability to work constructively to find solutions to our nation's biggest challenges, and you just mentioned some of them. It's just amazing that you choose public service with all your wonderful experiences. It says our country's political system is caught up in a dangerous downward cycle characterized by contention between extreme, uncompromising voices on both sides of the political spectrum. I guess with your background, what your credentials just laid out, you could serve on a number of committees in Congress. Is there anyone particular that you would love to serve on?
One of my passions is foreign policy, so I would love to serve on that committee. I think I could bring some good experience and expertise onto that committee. I would also be interested in the Judiciary Committee. My legal background, I think, would serve me well on that front. So those are the two biggest ones. Commerce would also be another one. Obviously, I think business experience is relatively rare in Congress.
Yeah, people are talking now about the economy and so forth, and the rising costs of everything. So I assume your expertise would be welcome in that area too.
Yeah, I think really one of the biggest threats facing our country right now is our national finances, and that's something that's really being ignored. Because it's politically fraught, right, to talk about making hard decisions to get our national finances back in order. But if we don't do something about it, then really painful things will be happening within the next 10 years. And so that's one of my passions, is to be able to go there and really sit down with folks and figure out how can we get this in order, how can we start living within our means as a country. That's a principle that is incredibly important in our day-to-day lives, but that our politicians have been ignoring for decades.
You're here with me, and I'm African-American, and you've had some experience in the Middle East and so forth, so I assume you talk to Muslims and other ethnic groups. So what is your message to the African-American community?
I think there are a lot of challenges in the African-American community, and I don't pretend to know the solution to those challenges. I think if there was any easy solution, it would have already been found. But what I'm interested in is learning and understanding your perspective on what's gone wrong and what needs to be done to fix it. And I think what it's going to take is innovative, creative solutions. And I think there are some people out there in various cities around the country who have really come up with some innovative ideas that are proving effective and helping lift people out of poverty and really change the trajectory of their lives, and that we should look around the country and see what's been successful and find ways to apply those successful programs in other places in the country. And I think that's part of what's lacking right now as we try to solve a lot of these inner city problems and generational poverty problems is a lack of creativity, and some of that, frankly, I blame on on parties, not being willing. They have these entrenched interests on both sides that aren't willing to think creatively, and they're only thinking about, well, how's this going to help my party? Is this going to help me get reelected? Is this going to help my party garner more power? It's not about how is this going to help the people in the inner city? How is this going to help people in their lives? It's more about how's this going to help me and my party.
And for those Muslims, do you speak to them sometimes in their language?
A lot of the Muslims in America are not Arabic speakers necessarily. In fact, I was at a Bosnian mosque yesterday, actually here in the St. Louis area.
Sure.
So I don't speak Bosnian, but certainly I know the Arabic greetings and terms that are common throughout all Islamic. Yes, Assalamu alaikum, and I'm familiar with the Quran, so yeah, I can connect there on a level that most Americans can't.
That's great. When we come back, I want to ask about your faith, because you mentioned your faith, and it seems like you're a man of faith.
I definitely
and it's
am.
a wonderful thing. And Jared Young is, I guess, he's a candidate for the U.S. Senate, not the local Senate, U.S. Senate. And Jared Young is a person, and we'll find more about him after this. We'll be right back.
The Bernie Hayes program is produced at NLEC TV right here at 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. It's our new headquarters since they closed the 1411 Locust building. We're working to get back into that building. In addition to that, trying to help so many people through a wide variety of safe houses, training programs, transportation assistance, so many ways people are getting help because of all of you that are supporting the work of New Life Evangelistic Center. Now, if you'll send a gift of $25 or more, we want to send you this special, the Bernie Hayes Show cup. And we're giving that to people. It's just a way of saying thank you. So when you send your gift, request a cup. We'll be happy to get it off to you. It's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. You can give online at nlecstl.org. Now I'm really asking all of you to join us in praying. The needs are so phenomenal at this particular time. So many hurting and homeless people are contacting us daily, but we're able to help them because of each one of you that are praying, caring, and sharing at this time. Tell your families and friends about NLEC TV and get directly involved yourself.
Today's subject, Gladys West, a hidden figure in the development of GPS technology, has officially been honored for her work. Mathematician Dr. Gladys West was recognized for doing the computing responsible for creating the Geographical Positioning System, more commonly referred to as the GPS. The 87-year-old woman was inducted into the Air Force Space and Missile Pioneer Hall of Fame by the United States Air Force during a ceremony at the Pentagon. Dr. West spent 42 years working on the naval base at Dahlgren, Virginia, and during that time she was one of a few women hired by the military to do advanced technological work. During the early 1960s, she was commissioned by the U.S. Naval Weapons Laboratory to support research around Pluto's motion. And from the mid-70s to the mid-80s, her computing work on Earth, the Earth model, led to what became the first GPS orbit. Gladys West, our subject for today.
When you partner with New Life Evangelistic Center, you impact so many people. The economy in this country is really hurting so many all over. And we're seeing the number of people who are experiencing homelessness rise. You can make a difference today by giving your gift online at newlifeevangelisticcenter.org. newlifeevangelisticcenter.org. Make a real big change in the lives of so many.
Welcome back. Jared Young for Senate. You can be better. That's right here on this postcard. And Jared, who designed this for you?
My dad had a lot to do with that, but we also had a professional graphic designer that.
Okay. And it's just so interesting. So many different things on here that it says "Change for Good." How did that logo come about?
I'm a huge fan of things that have double meanings, and so for me, "Change for Good" is a slogan that means, number one, a change for good in the sense that it will help us be better, it'll help our country be better, it'll help us solve these problems, and so things will become good or better. But then I also want it to be a permanent and lasting change. This is not intended to be kind of a flash in the pan sort of thing. I don't want this to be something that's just about me. In fact, one of the ways that we're making this not just about me, I mentioned that we need 10,000 signatures to get on the ballot.
Right.
Well, I had a choice. I could either spend those resources to get just me on the ballot, or I could spend those resources to create a new party in Missouri that gets not just me, but other like-minded independents on the ballot in Missouri. And so that's what we ended up doing. We actually created a new party. You can see it there's a story in the Post-Dispatch about it last week. It's called the Better Party.
The Better Party, okay.
And so when when we're turning in these signatures next week, it won't be just for me, it'll be for a number of independent candidates.
Mm-hmm. So for better and for good, tell us about your faith.
Yeah, so my faith in Jesus Christ has been a core part of my life from the very beginning. You asked about my father. Mm-hmm. That's something that my parents instilled in me. Faith was a part of our household. We went to church every week. We served very actively in our congregations, and that's something I've continued to do throughout my life. I mentioned I was in Europe for 2 years. I was actually as a missionary for my church, and the various positions I've had the privilege of serving in my church have given me the chance to sit down with people who are struggling, whether they're struggling to make ends meet or struggling in their marriage or just struggling with different things in life, and helped me see just the challenges that people go through, and also helped me see what helps people in those situations and what doesn't help them. Mm-hmm. One of the big things in our church is we try to help people work towards self-reliance. And so as we're administering our welfare programs in our church, we don't just hand people cash. We don't feel like that's particularly helpful. We sit down with them, we go through their budget to try to figure out what money do they have coming in, what money is going out, and try to help them develop skills that won't just keep them in their house for the next few weeks, but will get them to a place where they're not only able to take care of themselves, but then can start contributing and taking care of others. And
anything that I haven't asked you about that you want to tell the people who are viewing us today?
No, I guess I would just reiterate what it says there on the card. If we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always gotten. And I believe that whether we send a Democrat or a Republican to the Senate, things won't change. We really need fresh, independent, different thinking. We need to break this cycle of just anger and lack of productivity that the two parties have put us in. So I welcome meeting as many people as possible and learning more about the community that you're engaged in, mm-hmm. and just making new friends. That's what I love about this. Is
your wife and children supporting you?
They're incredibly supportive. So my wife is amazing. Obviously, you can imagine this involves a lot of time on the road, yeah. And a lot of sacrifices for our family. My wife's incredibly supportive. She's like...
What's her name? Do you have a name?
Christine. Oh, yeah. Christine is... she is truly, I tell people we have 6 children, and she's like, your wife must be a saint. And she really is. She's one of the most saintly, Christ-like individuals I've ever known. And, was she excited when we started talking about me running for office? No, she's not excited in the sense that she knows what it will mean for our family and the sacrifices it means for our family. But she also believes strongly in what I'm doing. She believes that our country needs this. She has confidence in me and believes that I can make a real difference and be the kind of leader that we need. And so I'm incredibly grateful for her support, mm-hmm. and for her willingness to go through this with me.
Once again, how can we reach you and help you?
VoteJaredYoung.com is where you can find out more information. You can donate, you can volunteer, and reach out to us, and we're happy to engage with you.
We're going to have local offices here in St. Louis area?
We will eventually, yeah.
Okay. Jared Young, I want to say thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's been a privilege.
To you too. It's nice to see an independent. Nice to see a man with young ideas and new thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thanks each and every one of you for viewing here at the New Life Evangelistic Center with 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. Reverend Larry Rice has been here for more than 52 years, helping those in need and in the poor. I'm Bernie Hayes. Have a great day. Until next time, have a good day.